My journey through the afterlife. The coma story. When the nurses caused my overdose and placed me into a coma for a week, in the coma I was awakened by 2 officers, escorted out of the NBRHC, and placed into the patrol cruiser. At first, I thought they were bringing me to the North Bay jail. We drove to the highway that goes right to Sudbury or left to North Bay. The officers turned right down the highway towards Sudbury, which at that point I knew I was going to war. Eventually I passed out in the car, then we arrived at an abandoned police station where they threw me in a cell. A day or so goes by and an officer comes and throws in a pair of shoes and tells me to put them on, and it was at this point that I knew I had to fight. So I put on the shoes and waited. A few moments later the officer comes back, opens the cell door, and points a big knife at my throat. I stick out my hand and shove the blade through my hand, slowly clench the blade that is through the palm of my right hand, and pull it from him. Now, the officer is trembling and yelling with fear, "You're nuts, you're fucking nuts." I pull the knife from my palm and grab the officer and slice his throat where blood squirts everywhere. Then I grabbed the officer's gun, and now the officers were coming in to see the commotion. One by one when they entered were shot in the head by me. Then the last officer finally came in and was in shock from fear, seeing all the officers dead on the floor. A few hours later I was released, but now I was homeless in some abandoned town that I had no idea where I was. I found an abandoned building which I stayed in for what felt like an eternity. Then it was time to deal with that crooked cop shop. I went there where bikers and the streets were battling the cops on the ground. Then there was a sniper on the rooftop top, and the ones that were for me were being murdered by the sniper. So I climbed up on the rooftop, snuck up to the sniper, and made my presence known to him. He points the sniper at me, and I forced him to shoot me. The bullet did not penetrate me. So I walked up to him slowly while he was shooting at me with the sniper rifle. I pressed the barrel of the sniper rifle against my chest and pulled the trigger on myself, then grabbed the rifle from him. Now he's trembling in absolute fear. "What are you? What are you?" he says, while tears of fear fall from his eyes while shaking. I stepped on his head and pinned him down, then put the rifle to his temple and pulled the trigger. Blood splattered everywhere from his skull. I looked down to see that a lot of the men who were fighting for me were dying off. I finished the war between us, and the crooked cops then reached to the heavens and brought back to life all my comrades, and none of them had any wounds after the incantation and trade I made with the gods. I climbed down the building and the men confronted me. "I thought you said the government was sending men to fight for us. Where are they?" They shouted. 10 minutes go by and the SWAT team shows up and a militia of men. The commanding officer of the SWAT and militia apologized for being late. I said to her, "My men were dying, your people are never on time, what the fuck, I'm always the first one, and your team is never there for us." I said to her, "I need to get back to my body, it's dying now, it doesn't have much life left, rush me back to my body." I felt the detachment of it, I said to her. She places me in a cruiser with 2 of her officers, but before that I said to her that the people here that supported me has to be awarded and taken care of financially and with true freedom. She responds, "We'll take good care of them." After I was in the cruiser I passed out and awoke back in the bay of the NBRHC Forensic Department. I was escorted back to the Deer Lodge Assessment Unit in seclusion. A week later I was out of seclusion and sent to Heron Lodge. Both units were void of patients and only a max of 1 nurse was on each unit. While at Heron Lodge I only saw 1 patient a week. After being there, she saw my palm of the right hand with a hole through it and she asked me how I got it. I said to her, "What is taking place right now you wouldn't believe, nor do you want to deal with it." She said, "They must take you to the emergency department, you need stitches." I said, "They won't, but I know how to get a needle and thread and some filler." I found the nurse who was my ally and he gave me what I needed. I stuffed my hand with some fabric and stitched both sides shut. A few days later 9 nurses tackled me to the ground and placed me in seclusion and drugged me some more. The next day I was escorted back to the Deer Lodge assessment and administered more drugs where I passed out exactly where my body was. The day after that I awoke from the coma to a young blonde nurse asking me if I knew what day it was. During the whole coma, I did not know of days or nights, there were no calendars or clocks, no electronics or phones. This is how I learned that time was an illusion and that death was an illusion as well.